At 304. Personal appeals. Anyone with a personal appeal, please step forward, sign in, state your name and address. Okay, you got 5 minutes?
That include for a school?
Yeah, come on. Right there. Tell us who you are and what you got.
Hi, I'm Rob Aptaker from Seven Generations Charter School. My position there is curriculum support, and I'm also involved with the bus safety and just general student logistics. Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Thank you. A shout out to Jeff Clapper, who's helped us a lot, especially recently we needed some help getting used to the Emmaus Park, but he's also gotten us signs to help make our road a little safer. Which brings me to the topic of why I'm here today.
Your crosswalk request.
Yes, exactly.
It's on the agenda.
Have people had a chance to look at it? The
You guys
basics
got
of
that
it.
letter?
Yeah. The basics of it are that we've gone from having a single school on one side of the building at 154 to having a second campus, the old Rodale building at 33 across the street. And that's where our 6th and 7th graders and next year 6th, 7th, and 8th will be. And the way it works is the buses will continue to bring all students, K through 7 and then 8, to the Minor Street address, at which point they'll need to be able to be formally crossed over the street to their building, and then in the PM, the same thing, to come back to be picked up by buses. Additionally, it's likely that they'll cross the street for art classes and music classes. That is, they'll come as a group. It won't be students wandering back and forth, but there will be groups crossing. And presently, if you've ever seen the street there, we've got the crossing at Cherry Street, which is kind of diametrically opposite from where the Rodale building is. So we're hoping for a crossing closer. I think Keystone makes sense, or somewhere else directly in front of the school. And of course, we'd love if somebody did it for us, but if you can't do it for us, if you can give us permission and tell us the specs, we'll get the paint and do it ourselves. But we would like the crosswalk. And the other point I'll make, and I can't push as hard for it, is that there still aren't any school zone signs or flashing lights there. We put out some lights in the morning and the afternoon when our buses come, and they do it. They're pretty good, but they're not up high. And if there's any plan to do that for anybody else, now that we were a 3-year school, now we got our charter, and we're at least another 5 years. And there's lots of kids there we'd like to keep safe. If there's anything that could be done for that, that'd be great. But first and foremost, the prospect of a crosswalk. And if anybody has any questions.
Anybody have a question?
How did we handle the last one that we did, the one that's at Cherry?
I think we'd send a traffic officer down there. These are a different set of circumstances now. I think that they're across the street. There wasn't an issue with crossing up that far as much as there will be now.
Right. It was in the past, we could just say to people, park your car in the parking lot, walk over to Cherry Street. But now we're literally at the. Can you picture the street?
Yeah, oh, I know exactly. I know
Okay.
exactly.
They're going to be
I'll
crossing
butt out
to
and let
go
you
to
do it.
that building. is my
Exactly,
understanding.
crossing to that building, yeah.
I missed where you were asking for the crosswalk at Keystone or
Keystone.
at Clyde's Lane?
Well,
This came up last year, if you remember.
Yes, but there was no school at their corner then. They just wanted to cross because of the way they went to the
Right.
travels on their
We
field.
were trying to train parents which way to go. As it came down to
we
more
try
of
to
that.
train parents too.
Uh-huh, every day.
I guess my question is, which location were you asking for?
I'm talking about Keystone, or anywhere directly in front of the schools, yeah. The Klein's Lane is I haven't been empowered to address the Klein's Lane issue.
And with the understanding that the kids are going to be crossing throughout the day at that spot.
Right.
Okay, just so we understood that, right?
Hey, Rob, real quick question for
Sure.
you. You said, you mentioned also flashing lights.
Right.
I know Seventh Generations sometimes is involved in, kind of being green, in that sense. Have you guys ever looked at maybe doing the legwork on looking for solar, like LED?
I'm glad to do that. If we get the okay to put up a school zone, we will gladly do the research and find out whether we can get something that's got a solar collector.
Here's my question to Jeff and to us guys is, if they would do the legwork on that and possibly maybe find some kind of means to do that, either via grants or some other donations, would we be okay putting up something like that?
As far as the Public Works Department goes, the only involvement we've ever had in them is to help them adjust the time on them when the daylight savings time trips or if there's a power outage. Typically, those are part of a development plan. The only one that exists is the high school. And that is something that the school paid for when they develop that property.
Normally those flashing lights would be tied into a PPO pole.
Right.
So our guys wouldn't normally touch that. You know, but he did bring up a good point. If that's not a designated school zone, that's something that I think you need to look at.
Well, there are a number of other schools that don't have them within the borough, including Lincoln, and have to cross over Harrison Street.
And for Jefferson.
Jefferson.
Which is probably something you need to look at too.
Yeah. But Jefferson doesn't have any major.
I mean, at least the
I guess they do.
designating
It
that
crosses
as
Harrison,
a
it goes to
school.
Sixth.
Right, yeah.
But to answer your question, whatever, we'd be fine doing whatever.
Okay.
From our standpoint, probably the students, as part of one of their learning units, could probably do some of the research on that. Not that we'd make them do the whole thing, but we'd involve them in the process.
Would you be able to fund it?
I bet we could. Our parent group, when we needed the initial, Jeff Plan needed somebody who had the lights that we use right now that are rechargeable. It was $500. We went to our parent group is called Community Circle. I went to them that Tuesday night. They allocated the $500 right away, and then they found a way to make the money. If they knew we could get a more permanent light and something that could be seen from further and that we could count on turning it on rather than me carrying something out and put it,
Yeah.
they get on it. Yeah.
I think we've been back and forth with this school district over the years, if my memory's correct, over the funding for lighted school zone signs. They're considerably expensive versus the school zone signs that you would see, just the regular signs that are up. Those have been done over the years, but the flashing ones that you're talking about are pretty expensive. And I know we've requested some funding from the school district in the past for areas like Harrison Street and others. So just as a point of information with that, you know, it does come up from time to time too with them.
The last funding request that I remember for flashing lights was going to be at Second and Harrison.
Right.
And it was going to be part of that Safe Routes to Schools project, and they came back and said they wouldn't fund that.
Funded.
That's correct.
That was a couple of years ago.
I'm willing to put this out,
Yeah.
that whether you make a decision or not about whether to approve flashing lights, we can go back and do some research and get back to you to help you make a decision. Because I think it's fair for us if we wanted to do a little bit of legwork and come to you and say, we found 3 different types of arrays, they cost this much, here's what we would have to do, here's what we might need from you. So I'm willing to, we're willing, speaking for the school, we're willing to do the research on that and get back to you. I'd love to have an answer on the crosswalk sooner than later.
Right. Well, let's send this to the traffic officer and have him look at all the school zones
Right.
that we have right there.
All of them?
Yeah, see what's established and what isn't.
Okay.
Let's have him review that.
We research which schools
What we have.
what's on the books.
And Jeff, we can work with them in terms of what types of signs and lights, as we did before.
What I was going to say, Rob, is our traffic services company, Telco, could probably give us that information very quickly.
For just the signs, or for signs that might, and lights that might have
For
a
the
solar?
flashing light, I know that the solar application is something that's kind of a new item. I'm sure they have information on it. As far as the street signs that say school zone, those are just a sign that you would have made and bolt on a post
Right.
or pole
Right.
or something.
Okay, well, I'll catch up with you in the next week or two, but also if I can do any research so that
Yeah.
if I have something to tell you that you don't already
I'll
have.
look a little bit too.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
And whatever you guys decide about the crosswalk, we're out painting now, so that wouldn't be a big deal to paint one or two or however many you all decide.
It'll be one, right?
Just
One.
one.
Yeah, I would expect the big change this time, Jeff, is the pedestrian traffic. They're going to be crossing there, so the needs.
Yeah, the change is they've got that other school. I mean, that's
Right.
Right.
So I think he's going to find with the amount of students that'll be crossing that it's warranted, so.
I just wonder if we shouldn't be proactive on this and say, you know what, maybe we should throw a second one up at Klein's Lane. Because they're gonna come out of that school and wanna cross to go to the trail, that's their point of access. And maybe we should look a little further than what their actual request is and throw in 2, one at Keystone and one at Klein's Lane.
We wouldn't fight you on that.
I don't see any issue with the one down in Keystone. It's just a matter of him going out, reviewing the neighborhood, taking some measurements and that stuff.
We'll have him check both locations then.
Okay.
And maybe what we can do is anybody willing to make a motion to approve the request contingent upon the traffic officer's study and review? Or you want to bring it back and wait until next month?
Yeah, I mean, just one quick question. Jeff, cost-wise, I mean, it's something that,
It's very insignificant.
They're out painting now?
right,
It'd be four, if you did both crosswalks, you'd be 4 6-inch lines, 30 feet
Right.
long.
yeah.
It'd take
Yeah, I didn't think there was anything else that
gallon
went
of
along
paint.
with it. It's just the paint, right? There's no sign that goes with it or anything, right? Yeah.
Very insignificant.
Yeah, no, that was what my assumption was, so, okay. Yeah. I mean, I'll make a motion contingent on traffic officer
Review,
recommendation.
recommendation,
Review and recommendation.
I'll say that.
discussion. All those in favor? We got 3 ayes. As soon as we get something back from him, we'll let you know.
Great. Meanwhile, I will, if I can use Jeff or Shane as my connection point, as soon as I have any information that'll help you with the stuff down the road, I'll send it along.
That's fine.
Thanks for your time
Thank
and
you.
consideration.
How's
Back to
the Arts
dismiss the
Pavilion
kids.
been? Good?
Pardon me?
How's the Arts Pavilion been?
The
Good?
the pavilion has been fine. Our students' behavior has been negligible, but the park's been fine.
Well, they're outside.
Seventh graders beginning of the school year, 6th and 7th graders beginning of the school year, and unfortunately, you know, our building at 33, there's some inspections waiting to be done and this and that. So if we had started them a few weeks in school and then been moved out, it's challenging. But it's not because of the pavilion. The park's working out very well for us.
Very good.
Thank you again.
Thank
Sure.
you.
All right, back to the
No.
That's why they're off the park. I don't know.
My name is Ted Hopple. I live over on
Sorry,
Arch. Ted Hopple. I live on Arch Street over here, 10th and Arch Street. And I'm basically just asking for a request for speed limit signs and children at play signs. The roto workers, they just constantly race up and down the street in the mornings and when they're going home to work. And they have
Which street?
Arch Street.
You're talking about Arch Street?
Yeah. It's just very unsafe. I have 3 little ones. Neighbors next to us have 2 little ones, and they're not unaware of the kids, and they just, you know, they're worried about getting to work on time and worried about going home, you know, so.
You're saying as they exit the parking lot?
Right.
Yeah.
It's an unmarked road. There's nothing up to even make them aware, you know, that there's children there. There's, you know, any kind of speed to slow down.
Is there a speed limit sign?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
This is on Arch,
I mean, it's an assumed 35, but, correct?
25, I thought it was
It's not posted, it's
It's-
20.
25, I thought.
Right.
25?
Mhm.
So that's basically my concern is
That's what you
making them aware.
Yeah. That's right, we did address that.
But, you know, mostly, obviously, the Rodale workers there, because there's nothing posted, and they race up and down the street, mornings and evenings.
Do you want his request in writing, or you
No, well, he came here, made a public appeal, we can assign it
put
to
something together and send it to the traffic officer?
Mhm.
Okay.
The docket's full, but we'll give him another one.
And as he takes them as they come in. so-
Sure.
Okay.
Do I need to sign this? Sign
Yes,
this
will you
here?
please?
Sure.
You could just,
He's on the record, that's fine, we can take that.
give us your name and address there.
Was it previously 35? Let me just see.
There's
Only when it's posted.
the state vehicles code says that if it's not otherwise posted, in rural areas it's 55, in metropolitan areas it's 35.
Yeah.
However, the borough has an ordinance that says.
Okay, that's not,
Otherwise
that's,
posted, it's 25.
yeah.
We'd be putting the speed limit signs up.
Oh, I know,
over.
yeah, that's what I thought was done, I knew that the state vehicle code had said there.
Right.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
I'm John Ashcraft, legal counsel for Jonathan and Priscilla Robertson here on, I believe it's ordinance 1087. I was before council last week on this matter. I don't really have anything new to offer. My client just asked me to attend the meeting. If you have a question, I can attempt to answer it. I'm not going to repeat myself
Okay.
on this. Other than that, I just commend the chief on his taste in ties.
True. How about that?
Oh, that's crazy.
He got the memo.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about butter and bread.
That's cute. No, that is cute.
How about that?
That's very good. Very good.
Would have never noticed.
Tom, what was
Yeah, I didn't pick up.
What was their last name?
Robertson.
Robertson.
Jonathan and Priscilla.
Burger Street?
Spruce.
It's Spruce, 165, I believe.
Okay.
No other personal appeals? John?
One.
You good?
Okay. All right.
No, I think he was on.
Okay.
He does have one.
He does have one.
Mm-hmm.
John Dodge, CMA. It's just another request for, since we're doing crosswalk things at 12th in Pennsylvania. Again, a lot of kids, a lot of school buses, a couple times a day, just a safety
Did
thing.
you bring that up before?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a state
but there was
highway.
like road,
It's a state highway,
was gonna
that's the
get
They
problem.
were,
fixed
they
and
were doing
stuff.
construction, is that when that came up?
Yeah, they were paving it and
Right.
putting that coating on it,
Right,
But that's also state highway, correct?
Correct.
oh, it
And
is.
you can't just put crosswalks where
Okay,
we would
I-
like them to be because of it being a state highway. So,
If I remember correctly, and I might have dropped the ball on that, I think when you came the last time, they were surfacing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have to instigate the
Send
contact
the
with
letter.
them,
PennDOT.
and then they tell us whether they'll allow it or not, and then we put it down.
Okay.
okay.
And I think I dropped the ball by not contacting them.
I forgot all about it and everything too, but all this
I
came
can
up.
certainly
and,
find out what
paint.
the procedure is, I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I can certainly find that out and at least revive that somewhat.
There was a ton of kids out there.
Yeah, that's a school bus.
Yeah,
right
there
there.
is.
There's a
It's
school
Yeah,
bus
they
stop.
There's
they
a
go on to
stop.
Stevens School, and all the kids
South
come
side.
from like,
Yeah.
Parkside area and everything, even before, so.
That's probably one of the biggest bus stops.
Yeah, there's a lot
It
of
is,
kids out
there's a couple, there's a couple times where they come through.
They're coming and going.
So it's from 7 to 9, they're picking up and dropping, or whatever they're dropping off.
Yeah, okay.
Is there a speed limit posted on that section?
I believe out there
Yeah.
there
There
is.
is.
There
That's
is.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably 35, right?
Yep.
Right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that there is.
Okay, then.
All right,
Um,
that was it, thanks.
Thanks. Jeff, if you can make the contact there. Okay.
So it's just merely a letter to PennDOT?
I'll just get a hold of the construction office and find out,
Okay.
phone call first, I think that's,
Normally they'll ask for a traffic study.
Or,
And a traffic study would be, again, back to your traffic officer.
Poor Brian.
Yeah, they won't be looking for a traffic count or anything like that.
I'm so glad he's my younger brother. I get a lot to do.
He'll be sitting on the road watching cars. for-
these are all from him.
Oh.
All right. Then let's move to unfinished business.
You can.
Sure. Yeah, I do have the Tom Dinkel Walker for the
Okay.
ordinance too. I don't see it on your agenda.
Turn it over.
So-
Turn it over.
It's on there.
Oh, man.
Oh, that.
It's one of those days.
Yeah, she faked it.
Cha-ching.
I was hoping we were out early.
All right.
I know where she's at now.
Who do you have, Kurt, Fur?
Yep, I'm going by your,
Four-way stop at 5th and North Street.
Yep.
This was referred to the traffic officer.
was, and just to capture it in a nutshell, first thing we look at is the crash study. Obviously, we didn't think we would, and we don't have the crash history there that would warrant it under PennDOT. However, the next thing we do is look at site distance and talk to the neighbors, and look at the amount of pedestrian traffic. Well, because of the school, we had the pedestrian traffic. Traffic officer was out there, spoke to the neighbors, and I believe here he's recommending this. So that's a decision for council. I know in the past we've had some concerns about.
So the four-way stop would be at North and Fifth, and the only other four-way stop on there is,
Currently on.
It is, there's one up at Fifth and Allenville.
Yeah, oh, well, yeah, I mean, there's the one down
For the
by,
school.
I mean, for the school.
The
Yeah,
next block up, there's a four-way.
Right,
Where this
yeah, because
is.
right by the post office is one.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Ridge.
Yeah.
But Elm has one, and then the next one is north?
Well, the next one south of it is north, yes.
Yeah.
In other words, down towards the post office, it's an intersection where there's a lot of student crossing. Because
Yeah.
There's a school there. So we had that meets the criteria. What he's saying in here is we don't meet the criteria with crashes, but you do with pedestrians. And in talking to the neighbors, apparently they want to see this happen.
Yeah, that is tough.
I know
It is.
from our standpoint, going from the Emmaus station, it's actually hard to see to pull out there, and we do have to pull out into the roadway
Yeah.
to see, to cross. And I've actually seen a lot of close calls there where near crashes, obviously they become crashes. There-
He points
there-
out that site distance
there-
issue.
Yeah.
that is an issue there.
Right.
I mean, one of the, I guess if it's an alternative, I mean, it's probably not a popular alternative, but to, it's real, I think, because I drove this after that came in, heading east, like if you're crossing Fifth Street, is really the one that, and that's the one that you're describing as well, correct? When you're pulling out, if you're coming from the
Going
station.
from 6th to 5th.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, going,
actually south.
If you're coming
No,
from
the
Central
east.
Station and you're on North Street, you're going
You're going
east.
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 Yeah.
You're going
Oh,
east.
East, yeah. Then you go north or south on Fifth.
Right.
Yeah. North Fifth Street.
Yes, that's
Yeah, I mean, but I'm wondering if maybe just having a more severe yellow curb there, because I don't think it's the same way if you're pulling up, if you're going across, like if you're going west.
He mentioned in here about the vehicle code 3350, where you prevent parking within 30 feet.
If the stop sign was there,
Oh, if it was there, okay. Because I was wondering if that's.
if the stop sign's there, then they, as Jeff taught us in the past.
That's every intersection where that's just the vehicle code, that's a
Yeah.
distance
Because I
that they
think
define.
if,
I'm just wondering if extending that to.
Can you extend that?
No.
Can you go like 60 feet?
Can you mean?
Yeah, like if I wanted to say.
By ordinance you can.
By ordinance you can.
Yellow markings are informational only. They are not a traffic control device. So if you're going to mark off a parking spot, it has to be signed
Sign and paint.
and
It
painted.
has to be by ordinance.
Right.
So 30, the vehicle, from what I understand is the vehicle code here is, the minimum is 30 feet.
30 feet. yeah.
So, but if we recommended that we want it to be 50 feet, we would just have to do our own ordinance and this.
Yeah, you just have to pass it.
So the
And
minimum
you
is
have to
30.
throw up a sign that said something like no parking here to corner or something
Yep.
like that.
I mean, I don't know if that's the answer. It might make more sense to do a stop sign because there is continual traffic crossing there, and that would obviously be safer.
Yeah.
What I
He's-
noticed
He's
personally.
showing that he's strongly recommending
Yeah.
that's, I was just looking at the calendar, and cost-wise, I don't want to sound trite by saying cost compared to somebody getting injured or anything like that, but if we do, I mean, we're only 3 or 4 more months out of this fiscal year here, coming up on December, if we can put it in the sign budget for next year. I mean, I don't know if that works for you or not, Joe.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is, there are
Right
two
out this year,
intersections
that's
in
what I'm
town that I
saying.
discourage my guys from using. One of them is Keystone and Main, and the other one's Fifth and North.
Yeah.
Because it's the speed of the people coming from the post office, they're either in a hurry to get there, or they've been in line and they're leaving, and they're on you. We've had several close calls. It's been a discussion amongst ourselves. Anyway, just.
Yeah, no, that
We
makes
have no
perfect
stop
sense. Then.
signs?
Huh?
We have no stop signs anywhere?
I think we have, I don't know what we have on hand. We do have some signs, yes. I would have to check to see whether we have 2 stop signs. I guess we probably do. Whether we have the 4-way designations or the all-way designations, I need to check. I don't know what, without looking, what we have on inventory.
you have to sign the sign? I mean, normally when they put a new stop sign up, there's a sign warrant.
There's a trial period, you've got to, it's an awareness period.
It's a sign.
We have the lights, the bulb
You
on.
put the portable
Put the light
sign,
on there?
you put portable signs up prior to the sign,
Stop, okay.
and you light it for a period of time so that, you know, the neighboring public and
Is
everybody
the period of time
traveling.
90 days? After
Typically.
trial?
We usually do
Typically,
a 90-day
yeah.
trial period.
And then we would, you know, obviously, we gotta make an awareness piece for the people when we do it. Similar to Second and Ridge. Second and Ridge was a traffic collision nightmare, so we, in that one, we met the crash history with that intersection. Here, you don't meet the crash history, but you got a sight distance issue, and you got pedestrian travel to the school. And the neighbors are like, yeah, this is bad.
Wow, yeah, that would be terrible.
All right, guys, what's your pleasure? What do you want to do with this one?
I think we should go along with the recommendation. It sounds like the neighbors there are on board. Sounds like there's already awareness that this is a bigger, bad intersection.
So I would need to introduce an ordinance.
Amendment
It's
to the
amendment to our
ordinance.
current stop sign ordinance.
This one,
Chapter
we're working on.
15.
If he,
we're right in the middle of it.
would he be able to get the monies for it if he doesn't have in stock?
If you're going to put up a new stop sign,
We'll
we'll
find
get
a
it
way.
up this year. We'll find.
We'll get it up this year, or, okay.
I mean, yeah.
Don't you have to do a 90-day trial?
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta do it.
So, you make that motion?
Yep, I'll make that motion. To put a four-way stop sign at North Fifth Street and North Street.
I'll second that.
So, I'm sorry, what I'll do in the interim is, I'll put this memo in the rest of your colleagues' boxes so that they're not,
Yeah.
It'll be in the packet for Friday.
Okay, they'll get it?
For Monday's meeting.
so that they're not surprised by this when it's on their desk and they have some
No.
time to look at it.
Shane, do you have the original request also? If not,
I don't.
I have it. That way everybody,
Was it from Fair, FEHR?
yeah. If you don't have it, I have it. If you could give it to everybody, then along with a copy of this
Do you
memo.
have the original?
I don't.
It was, email correspondence?
Oh, the email correspondence?
Yeah, here, you can have mine.
Yeah, if I could. I'm sure I have it in my email somewhere.
It's probably attached to yours there.
You can have that, but
It's yours.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Do you have to, in that motion, make, say, amendment to?
Would you all recommend?
No, it's a 90-day trial period. We'll add that to your motion,
Okay.
if you want to amend that.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
yeah, I mean, by law, it has to be an ordinance.
No, I understand.
Well, we
I
always
know-
put them under a 90-day trial
I don't think we
period.
put it under 90 day, that's,
Do you want me to prepare paperwork for Monday as like a first reading, or do you, how do you want to proceed?
Yeah.
with it?
or, yeah.
We have to amend the ordinance, yeah.
It's a quick, stop sign was a quick, I'm sure I could probably find one where you amended a stop sign somewhere else, just change it.
Second.
Well, we added Second and Ridge and 10th and Broad.
Second Ridge was your last one?
No, Keystone was
It's
probably the last
not,
one.
maybe not the
Keystone
most recent,
and
but
Spruce.
that was,
Oh, yeah, that would have been the last one.
Yeah, that
Keystone and
was-
Spruce was the
pretty,
last
yeah,
one.
that's pretty recent, within
Yeah.
a couple of years.
Yeah.
That was like 4 years ago, maybe.
Keystone and
Yeah.
Spruce.
Okay.
Oh, was it Keystone? Actually, wasn't it? It's Pine and Keystone.
Might
Pine
be,
and-
yeah.
Yeah, they-
Keystone.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's one of those trees, it's one of those trees.
Yeah, so it's.
Not Elm, we know that.
Yeah, it's Pine. Pine and Keystone.
All right.
That was the one they didn't have before, right?
Any further discussion? All those in favor? We have 3 ayes. Scott George, William Street Playground.
that's Jeff and I.
We met with Mr. George.
We did.
Yeah, that's what's down to the
Come
tree.
to,
Sure.
And then there's one for you.
a solution for his issue.
Basically, we met with him. you know, when we got down there and talked to him, I think after we spoke to him a while, we realized this is a really different condition. I think we've been speaking for a long time, and kind of, my impression, at least in my opinion, was that it was kind of unwarranted and a little self-serving. But once we got down there and placed him in the right location with respect to the amount of people that see that site and the problem that must be pretty large at times with the amount of people that go there, I kind of see it differently, and I think Chief Faust agrees with me. Bottom line is, what we came up with was, what's happening is the people are going beyond what would be the boundaries of the parking lot, the basketball court,
Right.
and overflowing in a perpendicular direction to Apple Street. So what we're proposing is a combination, post one side of Apple for no parking, and then place 2 or 3 signs along the edge of what would define the parking lot that says something like no parking beyond these signs.
Mhm.
And I think that's the best you can hope for. And he thought that was a good idea. And like I said, I kind of thought at first that, you know, it was kind of a dumb thing, but, you know, he must have a big problem there. And I could see, you know, at times when, and the thing he said too is the basketball league, there's a lot of people.
Mhm.
And on the nights where you have the baseball, it's a mob down there. So I just felt like it was appropriate personally.
So these, if we're looking on like the parking lot side for basketball court and everything, it looks like 3 signs.
I was thinking 3 signs should do it, spaced 20, 30
Yeah.
feet apart.
And then would there be some sort of like, I know there are some, are there still some boulders down there also?
There are no boulders
There are
there.
not.
There are none, okay.
We
We
talked
could
about
do
that.
that.
We talked about that possibility.
But do you think it's better just to do the signs?
Well, I did, just simply because in the wintertime, you know, pushing the snow away, trimming around and mowing.
Gotta
Yeah.
post it for
But
for certain.
maybe over time, we might see that's not
No,
so
it's all
great.
good. I go off the recommendation.
With the caveat too that Jeff mentions it here, he has it in his drawing, but this would be another addition to your chapter 15 ordinance that you'd have to include. The north side of Apple Street would have to be ordained.
This would have to be its own separate ordinance too.
Yeah.
So those residents there, they could, there are so many parks there,
They
give the
can-
police department a call, and now you can enforce it.
If it's ordained, yes.
Correct.
It hasn't been, so of course we
Well,
haven't
right.
enforced it. But there's a logical through street there, but Jeff's people keep it maintained. They plow it because of the water that runs off there. So they do some work out there on Apple Street now. And I guess that was his whole argument. Although it's not paved, it's a right
I
of
was
way.
just gonna say, it's grass, right?
It's a grass.
It's still
Part of
grass,
it.
it's all grass.
The bigger problem is the edge of the parking lot and we had a long discussion with him about this. There are several choices. The parking lot, the edge of the parking lot of the basketball court is not defined well.
Yeah, that's-
That's really the problem.
That was my thought.
As
too.
people back in there, they're backing into his fence in a perpendicular direction. Because they just back all the way in there and they don't see that as a problem, they're not doing anything wrong really, because it looks okay to do. And I'm thinking that the signs, and so we thought, well, maybe those signs alone would be pretty good. But then we thought, well, on the busy days, people are looking for parking, they're probably gonna come into that opening of Apple and start parking. So we thought maybe doing both would be better.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
Would it be hard to, I mean, that parking lot really is just kind of, I mean, it's a mismatched
Yeah.
shape. It's not
Yeah.
something that's defined. With just a little grading or something like that, I mean, would it be hard to try and put some, even though it's still gonna be just cinder or just small stone, would it be possible to
Define it better.
define a little more?
Yes, you could, but when people are looking for a place
Yeah,
to
it doesn't
park,
matter.
Or park where they
they're
can
gonna
park.
go over there.
Cool. Oh, I agree with the signs as well.
Yeah. The only thing I say about those kinds of things,
Yeah.
railroad ties
We
and
talked about
parking
that last
bumpers and stuff like that, you're gonna be
Yeah.
correcting and moving them all back in place after the winter.
Cool.
because they get knocked all around and,
Yeah.
you know,
He
depending
had
on who's
requested
down there clearing that
boulders.
parking lot, you know,
Yeah.
it's gonna be
No,
over
that's
against the
good.
guy's fence.
All good.
So, we talked about that too.
Yeah, I
Talked
figured you
about
did.
boulders, he talked about chains and.
Do you have any, kind of on Wes's point here, you know, causing, you know, creating a boundary, do you have any, I don't know, how do I put it, any old, like cement?
He was just
sewer
saying that,
pipes?
he was, oh.
Barriers, you mean?
Like sewer pipe, like that you can cut in half, or maybe that's damaged that you're not using, that you could maybe put there?
You have to be careful what you're putting there too. They have to be approved. I mean, you can't just,
Yeah.
boulders,
Somebody runs them over.
boulders, quite honestly, I'm not even sure that you can put those as barriers
Why?
for traffic. You've got to really look at PennDOT's regulations.
I think the signs would be.
To answer your question, yes, we do, but I guess I would say you have to be careful that you don't want to look like a cluttered.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying that's something that you can dress up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had
Yeah.
some kind of material, something that was,
That's why I just thought that really probably what's happening is the people aren't really trained and they don't know. And I think my thought was the cleanest, neatest approach would be a couple signs. Don't get carried away with it. Some signs that have a short message on them.
And this guy has called the police before, but there's no action, correct? There's no action that can be taken.
We've had action, but no, his request is for parking tickets and enforcement.
Right, yeah, now they're.
And have to explain to him that if we end up down at the magistrate, she's gonna wanna know where it's ordained and what we're enforcing.
Right.
It is a street, Apple Street's a street, and his argument is what, they're parking in the street.
Yeah.
This goes back to 2009 when Craig was the manager and
Oh, yeah.
council agreed then, put a sign on your gate, so he did. But it doesn't,
Did not.
it's just a warning sign, it doesn't do anything for
Yeah.
them. It doesn't help them move the vehicles when they're there, so.
Jeff, what's the cost on something like that for 5 signs?
Well, to throw the signs up, I think there's a couple poles there, but let's just say you'd have to use metal poles. You're talking about $25 per sign, $50 for each pole and sign for the one side, so that's $100. And you're probably talking about $150 for the other 3 signs, a pole and a sign, although we would probably use a cutoff piece and not use for those other 3. So, what's that?
$250.
$350, say around $300 for all of it, if you're using scrap for the other 3 poles. That's for just material only.
In 2013, right? We'll do this in 2013.
Yeah, this is.
Well, and that's the thing we did tell him is that, our sign budget's suffering a little bit, we would be, and he seemed okay with that, right, Dave?
He did, he just wants to know that
There's
there'll
no
be some
games
kind of
coming up,
resolution. No, we
The
told him.
winter's
you know.
coming up,
Yeah.
so.
All right, then let's hold on this one till
Well, we just
December.
want to take care of it and have
I'd
it.
pass it. I mean, if you're gonna pass it, I get that out of the way.
No.
So January 1st.
You can always put an effective date on it of
January 1st for the 90-day trial.
whatever.
Does that sound good to you?
Yeah.
January 1st, 90-day trial beginning on January 1st.
That would be good too, because then we can just tell him it's done, and
He wants a reply from me after the meeting. He's working, couldn't be here, so I said we'd connect with him after the meeting.
Making a motion.
I will make a motion to install 5 no parking signs as designated on the map, effective January 1st, 2013, with a 90-day trial period.
Have a second.
Yep, second.
Discussion. All those in favor?
Okay.
3 ayes.
Can this wait until your October meeting as far as the ordinance, or do you want me to pull that off
No.
for tomorrow too?
So
Okay.
this one we'll do this one in October.
Okay. So, have ready for October.
Thanks, guys, for helping out.
We had to
well,
do
like I
something.
said, that's a situation you kind of gotta really be sensitive to the individual circumstances that happen. It's one of the things where the the rules kind of don't,
Yeah.
it's very hard to apply a blanket rule in a situation like that, because I'm sure you've got a problem. And that's what I realized once we got down there, because my first take on it when they were talking about the last couple of years is this is something we shouldn't do.
Jeff, did you get anywhere on the 24-hour municipal parking lot ordinance?
Yes, and I saw that on the agenda, and I thought I had relayed this to you the last meeting. Basically, there is nothing. I've checked with Upper Milford, Lower Macungie, Whitehall, Allentown. Basically, you can sign and develop your own rules for your own property. And so if we want to do that, we can do that. We obviously ought to do it as an ordinance.
Right.
But it's kind of uncharted water. No, it's not. There's not really any examples out there.
That was a response to the PSAB as well, because I had questioned them, and I mean, normally they can get their hands on anything, and they said, Shelley Howgett said she's been in this for 25 years and never saw one.
This came from the parking down there.
Tivoli parking
Yeah.
space.
I mean, normally something like that is probably tied into, again, larger ordinances, you know, for municipal lots, because every municipal lot has parking rules. It's just
It's a little different, but I think it's something that at some point in time we should do something with, because there are people abusing those spaces down there. I noticed the one guy down there now at the plows got a truck that's out of inspection, and we just painted the lines down there is the reason why I noticed that.
Oh, no, I didn't
So,
know. That's great. So how many lines, how many parking spots?
it's like 52 or 54.
I know it's up there pretty,
Yeah, there's quite a few.
there's a lot.
Yeah.
But it's,
Yeah.
I think we should have some kind of ordinance then, if there's that many down there.
And the only thing we need to develop, and I don't know if we need a solicitor to help us with this or not, I think we just need to come up with the right words.
I
kind of think we can do it.
Yeah,
I can do
I'm
it.
sure you guys
I-
can come up with something.
Basically, we need to like say things like, you know, what are we saying as far as motor? These are really spaces that are not intended for storage,
Right.
but are intended for vehicles that are
Vehicle
actively
parking, right.
being used.
yeah.
I guess the real question is how do you, what rules do you want me to put in place? Because writing the ordinance for me is not an issue. It's what rules do you want in place for example.
What is the punishment?
Well, not just that, but
Operational.
do you want it to be a temporary parking?
Right.
You know, you can only park there so many hours a day. Do you want it to be, and I'm not suggesting this, but no overnight parking, permit parking? I mean, because it is a lot, so you could do permit parking, you can do metered parking. I mean, you would just need to tell us what rules, because if you're not establishing rules for it,
Why develop it?
why write an ordinance for it? So if you have rules in mind that you want us to establish for it, we can design the ordinance around that. That's not an issue at all. I can whip up an ordinance fairly easily. It's just that I just need to know what
The biggest thing, and I think that's a good idea, kind of similar to what we did over with the permit for resident parking, 1 hour parking except for resident permit parking or something, maybe do a dual thing. But the one thing we do need to do, if we get this far, is to clearly make sure it's known that, you know, no working on vehicles there, because we've seen vehicles like jack stands for several days in a row, and motor homes and
How many things
RVs.
are out of inspection?
Right.
And I think is it not the goal that we're trying to,
Now, right?
Are they on a public street?
No, they're on private
They're on our-
property.
they're on our lot.
property.
is it let me ask you.
How do our rules read?
I thought that was a public lot.
No,
Private property, it's ours.
it's private property right now.
When we have a situation like that where there's a vehicle parked on a person's property and it's uninspected, Jim handles those. If it's a public street, we handle those.
Okay.
So, no, we
Thanks for
wouldn't,
the
we
clarity.
wouldn't hang a ticket on your car parked in your yard for a bad
But
inspection.
what if it's parked in my parking lot?
In your parking lot.
That's
If
different. We could have it towed.
you have to have it signed, of course, appropriately signed, because we're gonna end up at the magistrate's office again. So all that's in play.
But the question I guess I'd ask you is, who covers it? Who covers their out of inspection vehicle right now that's sitting over there on our property, not in their yard?
You'd have to go to Jim.
Would Jim take care of that even
Yeah.
though it's in a public
Yeah,
area?
yeah.
Okay.
Because it would be just like a business owner downtown who's calling up the police because somebody's parked in a handicap spot or on their lot that doesn't belong there. We're acting as their agent.
Right, but that ends up being you though, if somebody's not parking, if somebody's parking in a handicap
Right,
spot.
right.
But I'm not sure, I guess my question, and I don't know the answer, I don't know that Jim has the authority to do anything with a vehicle that is not on private property.
That,
What's the difference if
That I
they had
don't know,
that thing parked down at Borough Line Park?
right.
Is that a Jim issue or is that a David? I don't know the answer, I'm asking that.
We would enforce it as the agent of the borough. So
I don't care who does it.
We would do it, but it's got to be appropriately assigned and ordained, is the point. Is it, what,
Well,
Jeff's question, what do you want?
Nonetheless, it's on our property and it's an uninspected vehicle.
Right.
I mean, that's whether it's a parking lot or our property is
Could you enforce it? Yeah, you could.
just which department.
Right.
So it just, more or less really, Shane could just call to get it towed.
No, I don't know that you would do
I mean,
that.
if you're
No,
saying
no.
that you're coming from the business point of view aspect
You
of
have
it.
to have a paper trail before we tow anything. You have to make a good faith effort to deal with that person, whether it's private property.
Send them a letter telling them to move it.
Right.
I understand that, but if you're coming from the business aspect of it, and I owned a lot, there's signage there that says, you will be towed, unauthorized vehicles will be towed.
And you know what our officers tell them? Sure, at owner's expense. You call the tow truck and you have it.
That's what I'm saying.
Right. We wouldn't do that.
I'm not saying that the police department would.
Oh, I thought you were asking me.
No,
tow it,
that we would get our recommended
The tow
towing.
When I had the
what?
properties downtown, I had to post it, no parking, and violators will be towed at your expense.
Right, at their expense.
It becomes the property owner's.
Right.
I think,
Right, that's what I'm
what we,
saying.
I think what we have, my suggestion.
What Jim Farnsworth?
and-
I'm not sure if he's.
My suggestion in the end, and what I was
I know
asking
in
was,
somebody's yard.
is our goal to dual,
I really
to
don't.
provide parking for the residents, but also additional municipal parking spaces? So we don't want them all packed out all the time.
Right.
And then I think in the end, we're gonna have to come up with something like that sign that I had worded that says some stuff. That then would give us the latitude to tow vehicles that were there. I think the key thing is you've gotta have that sign there first.
No, I'm
Okay.
totally on board with that.
Right,
No, I
let's get some
understand.
thoughts together and develop an ordinance to
Yeah,
cover
if you
it.
go second and Main, behind where the Main Street Gallery was, because we have some, the signs are still up, they're still up where we put up. And we had the
I don't
problem.
even
Because that's private property.
Yeah.
That's
those
private
lots.
property. Well, that's private, I mean, the borough
But
is
it's not.
private.
It's just-
Yeah.
Same thing behind Gordy's Yachts.
Yeah, that's the sign that shows it. 'Cause like we
Yeah.
put on,
Yeah, I just think the three of you just need to figure out
What direction we want.
what you want, we'll take care of it.
I mean, we do it at the high school every day. People think it's because we're enforcing, police can just come up and ticket cars. No, we're acting
Give it
as
some
an
thought, let's see
agent
what
of
we
the
can come up
school.
with for
And
next
when the
week.
tow truck shows up and our phones light up, the school is calling on us. There's a lot of people misunderstand that. Oh, the police are towing your car. No, the agent, the property owner of that property or business is towing your car.
so you can hold hands.
Okay.
It's a high daily thing at the school.
We'll think about it and see what we can come up with for next meeting. The emergency operations plan, I don't know how far Kevin is on this, so we'll leave it on the agenda. Parking inventory,
All right,
chapter 15.
here it is.
We're not complete yet, though.
We're getting dangerously close, though.
Let me give you an update. Dave and I went through, we got basically all the ordinance has been marked up. We will need to revise it according to these last motions that were made, and also if the truck ordinance goes through, and also once we clarify locations on, Dave and I went through and on that list, that two-page list that was developed on should it stay, should it not stay, there are some places that are to have descriptions,
Right.
I'm about halfway through that list, Dave.
My
For one
list-
more day,
My spreadsheet.
and we'll have all the descriptions for all the new stuff that's gotta go in the thing. And then it's just a matter of sitting down and carefully annotating the ordinance and then printing it.
Okay.
And I think that maybe the ordinance, the simple thing to do, possibly, and I don't know whether we can do it or not, but we have all these other ordinances, and we have all these little minor changes.
Right.
Would it be good to do one blanket ordinance?
You can do the blanket ordinance to update the list, you have to do a separate ordinance to install
Add,
stop signs.
okay.
I can write the ordinance, I just did one about a year and a half ago to do the update, so.
You're adding
Sure.
a handicap parking space out at Alpine Street?
Yes, and that was the other question I wanted to ask you. It's my personal opinion, and I may be wrong, but there was some thought, which I agree with you on, that we should have all of the municipal spaces listed.
Yes.
But I think to make the other ones right, you gotta do the ones that people request too, all of them.
We don't,
You-
because they're normally just temporary.
Well, they're not temporary, they last years and years, and I'm just simply saying, if someone parked in that space, and so, you wanted to request a sign, and we put a sign up, and there's no ordinance for that sign, you can't ticket somebody for parking there. Legally. How can, on what grounds do you have to ticket the neighbor other than just them not knowing? I think we have to include them, and I know the reason why we weren't including them, but it was something I wanted to talk about.
It is,
It's not just that.
it is.
Do you agree with that, Shane?
I've got a concern about posting every sign in one big blanket ordinance for handicap, especially.
No, I'm saying create a section that says, here these handicap parking zones are hereby designated, and then list them.
The permanent
You're talking
ones
about the
that
public
we
permit
establish,
But all of them,
yeah,
all of them on the street.
I have a concern with doing that. To me, it's more of a personal concern for the residents that have requested them. I went through that issue once before with, and the police chief's argument was that, are you trying to advertise the areas in town where people are handicapped and where I could easily access where they live? Hey, here's a from a security standpoint for that person. Because we had suggested the same thing years ago. But the police chief made a very, very compelling argument that, hey, here's a handicap sign in front of my house, guess what? 203 Ridge Street is handicapped, that means person size handicap, which means that's an easy place for anybody to target. I mean, yeah, you can
But
drive
they just-
around and do that too, but, his point was,
The
Well,
question
when you
that comes
list
in my
everything-
mind, what authority do you have
you
technically
pass-
to issue a
well,
ticket on
you
Joe to
got-
Joe paying $25 and us throwing up a sign?
You need to take a look at how the borough code works with it before you do it.
Well, but I mean, how does it, like if we do one.
I'm not sure that you have to do that with handicap parking,
Okay?
is what I'm saying. Before we go ahead and throw that up, let's make sure what the rules say.
Legal aspect of that.
All right.
Anyway, I had a question about including or not including, so whatever we gotta do,
I mean, we get an easy answer, I mean, we
Yeah.
make a
I mean, I
phone
like the
call.
idea of keeping it organized, but if it's a compromise with someone's safety.
So what's?
That was the argument
Yeah.
that he had made, and it was compelling, I mean, but we can find out very easily. Do we have to have them listed or not? I mean, that's the question, and if we do, then we list them. Right? No.
The ones individuals request are not listed.
But the ones where like handicap parking is on.
Neither are the other ones.
Park.
Right now. Well, there's a couple.
They're going to be under this.
Yeah.
The public ones that we put in need to be ordained.
But I'm saying they're not now.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But I've always been against individuals requesting one, having that put in the ordinance.
You're talking residents now.
I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
If I have a handicap sticker
I
and
know.
it's
Yeah, the right
posted,
park there.
Being a difficult.
Yes, you may. If you, the problem with these is if you have a handicap placard of any type, anybody can park
Anybody can
there.
park.
So if the resident comes home and they're handicapped,
and I'm parked at the spot and I have a sticker, it's legal.
Can't do it without.
Right.
no.
Yeah, because these people are thinking they're getting a private spot.
unless there's a chair in their parking space.
Right.
That
happens too, doesn't it?
The curb is painted blue.
Or
by
a
the
peach
resident.
basket.
Yeah, the curb is painted blue by
Uh-huh.
the residents. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, the chair is the legal.
Yeah, the chair is that, back
This
off,
spot
it's my
be on.
spot.
But back to chapter 15.
What do you got for that?
This is a spreadsheet that Jeff, that I made up, and Jeff and I are working through. We need another day or two to go to all these locations. Then we will have visited everything in here. Then we've got to put it to the changes that need to be made that we've found, of meetings of which you were a part of.
And that list you got in your hand, Dave, is about half done.
This list that is what Jeff and I are working on, and we're actually physically going out to these locations and checking them and finding out, are the signs there? Do we have distances? Are the signs faded? Are there not signs there? Do you want it in your ordinance, yes or no? So that's what.
And we've actually, like a couple of them, like one example is there on Fifth Street. We went into the business. Because the business has changed hands, but the guys still need it.
Do you
They
want
have
it in your
deliveries,
ordinance?
so we just asked
Are you
them.
making a recommendation? Are you making a recommendation as to should you leave it in the ordinance, shouldn't you leave it in the
Yes,
ordinance?
I have a column here.
There's a
Add,
couple.
Because that could be a long, long,
There's a
long.
couple
No,
of them
we're-
that
no, we're-
say we
we're-
want to
no.
eliminate certain
no,
areas.
that's a
Don't count till you start
category.
I'd say we did on the ones that we thought would be an issue.
Yeah, some of the 2-hour parking.
Yes,
We
yes.
added a 15-minute
Yeah,
parking.
but you're
with
making a
papers.
suggestion, not us, right? I mean,
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
Right, no, absolutely, by all means.
Yes, he's gonna give you 20 pages.
I guess what we probably have, all in all, is we got a day and a half, 2 days to finish that.
This.
And then set aside the work that actually needs to take these down to get the ordinance in shape. I think it would take sitting down, maybe 4 or 5 hours of just time together to completely go through it, make sure we had it annotated correctly, all the changes included. We have, it's kind of scattered right now, and that's what I think.
What you're gonna find when this is done is a lot of locations where there were signs for years and years and years, they're not needed, and they can come down. So there'll be a lot of signs coming down too, and a lot of these things won't be needed in your ordinance either. And then there's quite a few that you gotta
Can we use
keep
them over at
that are not ordained.
your boy there, at William Street?
There's a lot of
The problem
faded,
is they've long since been faded.
there's a lot of faded signs in this
Just paint
town.
over it.
There's a lot of faded signs in this town, a lot.
You got your water
They keep
color.
referring to chapter 15, it sounds like area
Well,
51.
This is chapter 15.
Yeah, I was thinking area 51.
All right.
So,
It is our own area.
we're getting close, we're getting there.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else from the traffic officer?
Yeah,
You do?
yeah. I have 2 things from the traffic officer.
What am
I don't
missing?
see it on your
Well, that's
agenda
what I just
though.
asked. What am I missing?
South 7th Street,
Oh, the parking. No, that's under the parking ordinance.
it's under chapter 15.
That was Cindy Fitzpatrick?
You have a letter, you got a letter.
Oh,
You-
I have that personal appeal.
There's 2 issues. So I have answers on both issues.
Okay.
One was a request for restricted parking on South 7th Street, the west side along CVS because of trucks,
Trucks.
commercial
That's right.
vehicles. No, that's the
She
next
was here
one.
with Pastor and Matthias Long.
This one was the mayor via vis-a-vis, I think, Mike Scripp and a couple other industries up on Broad Street, where they're not being able to make the turn. So that was a pretty easy fix. So let's deal with that one first.
I don't think that's no parking anymore.
This one's not tough at all. Coming down. Basically, we first went to Jim's office because there's a plan on this that had to be developed when CVS was built. So Jim looked at the plan, and the traffic officer and I went out and visited the site. And indeed, it's a problem for trucks to turn off of Chestnut Street when they're going up to the industry there. There's ample parking along that side where you don't have to restrict at all. What he's proposing here is just,
No parking zone on the west side of South Summit.
well, only
The extent of
47
47.
feet.
47 feet, not the whole length to where the right-of-way comes out behind CVS. So I think we equated it to about 2 parking spots would be restricted along the west side of South 7th Street. That fixes the problems of the vehicles turning off at Chestnut.
And I'm assuming if it's a problem, it means that cars regularly park there?
They do.
There's been a box truck out of state place parked there.
They do. It came
A
from
van
White Strip.
and something else.
Does
Your
that make
personal
that
opinion
zone
there, though.
align with the other side approximately, or no?
That's what
Or
Jim
is it
was looking
staggered?
at, and that'll come up in the next,
No. I'm asking you right now, the current sign is 60 feet up on the left.
right.
Will that new zone you're talking about on the right end up being kind of opposite that point, or do you know?
What it shows on this.
Yep.
Okay.
That's why we had Jim pull the plan out, because this is PennDOT's.
He's recommending the 45 feet here.
Well, that's already.
That's already there.
posted.
That has
Across the
nothing to do
street.
with the other issue up the way by the
I was
bank
thinking he
alley
was gonna get rid of all that up to here.
we were talking
No.
about.
Because of this tractor
That's
trailer.
next.
No, that's fine.
Oh,
It's this
okay.
area here.
So we would need
We're
to
busy
throw in
people.
2 signs there.
Yes. Here to here, done. 2 parking spaces, done.
Yeah.
And basically what that's doing is allowing your traffic to make the turn.
No one really ever parks there anyway, do they?
Yeah, there's a box truck there, there's cars there
Every once in a
regularly.
while.
Mike goes up that way to take his equipment back, and then the trucks going into CBIP and stuff, they're the ones that,
Yeah, especially when it's
they notified the mayor was the one that brought this.
Yeah, but I know we got a personal appeal here too.
We did.
Somebody was
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
Mrs. Wright, I think it was Mrs. Wright.
That's the next
No,
one.
it wasn't her.
That's the
It
next
wasn't her.
one.
That's next door.
All right,
I see your agenda says parking ticket, parking, no parking, parking, parking.
Yeah.
She's one of those.
We'll have to build a parking garage.
All right, what do you guys want to do with this one? You want to act on this one now, or you want to do
It's-
what?
No, it sounds like it makes sense. I mean, it's minimally residential. It
Yes.
sounds like it's more.
Mostly residential.
Well, no, I'm saying, it sounds like there's a box truck that parks there. I mean, it's someone using it
We
as a
visited the
commercial.
site, there's people that park there.
Okay. Okay.
This is another ordinance. please.
26,000.
For your paying adjustment.
Just repeating yourself.
Yeah, this is another ordinance.
So I'll make that motion to create the no parking zone on the west side of.
It's the east side. Oh,
Uh,
wait a minute.
It's the west
The west side, I'm
West
sorry.
side of,
47 feet.
yeah, 7th Street, 47 foot no parking zone.
Jim actually went out with the traffic officer and they measured it off so that it would comply with the plan you're looking at.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to ask if they do pass it. I need it from the curb line. I need a measurement from the curb line.
You can do that.
To begin to describe where it starts.
Yeah, to describe where it starts. I mean, I know that it's 29 feet here, 27 feet
Right,
there.
right.
There's no width of the crosswalk, so
Yeah, that's a weird looking
It is. And,
Nothing
you know,
straight
Jim's
out.
point was, they already, if you look at the radius there, PennDOT already made them trim that back to assist with commercial vehicles turning over
Yes.
there. But it's still a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was one of the sticking points when
It was.
developing that. You know.
Yeah. And the industry is really up on Broad Street, is where the trucks are going.
you guys are ordinance machines today.
Okay. Any
I feel
further
your
discussion?
pain, don't fall.
Oh, wait, we need a
Do
second.
it
All
up.
right. Any further discussion? All those in favor? We have 3 ayes. Shane, do you want to do this one for Monday, or do you want to wait for the first meeting?
Yeah, I'm not gonna be able to make it for Monday because we're gonna have to do some more measurements.
Okay.
Okay. So far for Monday, we're only looking at the stop sign.
Okay.
So far.
Do you have one more item for him?
Across the street is Bank Street, same plan that you just looked at. Different request. That was Mrs. Rice, who was here, and a few neighbors, I believe, were at the last meeting in the back.
Yeah.
There were several neighbors in the back. The issue is site distance. There's a site distance issue out there. He put a picture on the back of that memo. We got Jim Farnsworth involved in this one too. because of the plan. Separate issue, but the house, the house that's just to the left of those vehicles is in the site plane, according to Jim. So in other words, where the house is, you're not going to move it, but it's a site distance issue. So too, obviously, are the vehicles there for traffic coming out on Bank Street. The neighbors were requesting that we restrict additional parking there so that they could see to get out. Jim found, and the traffic officer found, that it's not only the vehicles that are parked there, it's also to the house. So I was hoping Jim Rice would be here to weigh in on this, because he lives there, and it was his mom that made the request. And that is, when they put their heads together, they actually came up with a different idea. And that is change the one-way direction of that block of Bank Street. Well, it removes the site distance issue, and then it brings them back out on 6th Street instead of 7th Street, where the landscape is different. There's no site distance issues, but neighbors now have to learn to come in the other direction. So here's my recommendation. I think you should notify the neighbors and find out how they really feel about, their options are this. You change the direction of the one-way to eliminate the site distance problem, or you don't move a house. It's not going to change. By restricting more parking there,
I won't move the house.
it's not going to change.
I just have one question here, and this is looking at the picture, but there's some things here like shrubbery. There's some shrubbery here that
Jim
maybe
saw that.
if it wasn't there, you could actually see down past that telephone pole. I don't know.
Is there a way that you can make, residents cut that back?
Um,
With hedges and stuff?
You have to
It's
have,
just
you have
not
to
this
have,
person.
you have to have 6 feet of walking space, sir.
Here's what Jim,
If it's out over the sidewalk, we enforce it.
here's what Jim found. There's a measurement he can take, that he has guidelines whereby he can look at site distances. That's what they did. The house, in and of itself, becomes a site distance issue for traffic that's leaving Bank Street. Just happens to be in the same plan you just looked at. The question becomes, how do we resolve it? If we restrict more traffic, yeah, you might be able to see a little better. It doesn't resolve the site distance problem, according to Jim. The only thing that does is you got to change the one-way. From, it's now east to west, it would have to be west to east. So residents would enter off of South Street, South 7th Street, and leave off of South 6th
Bank
Street.
goes like this.
Because they come, well,
There's a turn.
it's
And
lane.
like this,
Railroad.
And then like this.
Railroad Street is where they come up in, right?
They come in,
Because
Yeah, at the Turkey Hill.
that's why I had to look at on the map, because I was like, where does Bank Street continue
Just-
on? But it
just
it
north of the
doesn't.
railroad.
It's,
Right here is a little bump out.
yeah, it's, I think.
So you got
Right
six
behind
cars all
Turkey
on
Hill.
it, actually.
Isn't that
Yeah.
landscaping?
See, Turkey
Well,
Hill.
actually, when CBS was built, they relocated.
It comes out
Bank
by-
Street.
But not that
Building
side.
is in
Not
the
that
site.
side, Bank
Yeah.
Street.
Oh, it's the other
no,
side.
it's
That's what I was
a
trying to say.
residential.
They do
house.
have
The
that.
other side.
This bank, they got extra 20 feet.
They do have a map on your,
No.
on your,
That's not the
Looking
building.
at it right
on your
now.
The
iPad?
building is a
No,
residential
because I
home.
have no Wi-Fi.
It's
Sorry, man.
Yes.
Just saying.
I guess what
I gotta look
Jim's
at
saying.
this one. I gotta go out and look at this one for sure.
Well, and my point is, if you're gonna do this, you gotta get the neighbors.
I know why I'm-
You gotta sell this to the neighbors. They're the ones that brought
My kid goes to
the
school.
complaint. The neighbors said, we have a site distance issue. Jim Farnsworth said, yes, you do. It's there, we know it. By restricting parking more so in there, it's gonna help the issue, but it's not gonna resolve it. So he's saying, if you wanna resolve it entirely, that's an option, is to change the one-way direction. And people gotta enter from South 7th Street and leave from South 6th Street.
But you got people then parking, well, no, because railroad, they got Verizon right there, so nobody parks there.
Residents are now parked, well, you see these vehicles in that
Yeah, I'm
photograph?
talking
They're
here.
they park there now.
6th Street.
Yeah, there's a storage.
So you got Verizon here,
Yep.
so there is no
You
parking.
know what I would say?
Isn't
But they're not
6th Street, or 6th Street's a red light though, isn't it?
There's stuff out there, yes.
6th and Chestnut, yeah.
It's
So-
about
so-
half a block down.
And then you got, no, and then they got their curb cut out here.
I'm just saying that it isn't it normally
Same thing.
safer for
Well,
them
Which
to
side
get
is Chestnut on?
on to 6th than it would be on the 7th,
I just wanted to make sure.
turning left.
That's Chestnut there.
Yeah.
It's a tough
6 to 1, half a dozen.
getting out of the Turkey Hill.
Yeah,
I
'cause-
just
But
wonder
that-
if the people
Mike,
that
don't
live there
forget-
wouldn't be for
don't
this,
forget
because
they
most
have,
of the people that get there live closer to
Right.
Seventh. You got a huge
And
long,
there's-
you got a long area of just
There's an
Dutton's
S,
Road.
there's
But
an
the
S
curve
turn
cut
out.
You got a lot
But
of neighbors. So-
The question is,
A lot.
are they
They're all
going,
at Seventh Street end.
Curve
There's a
cut
ton
out.
of neighbors there.
are they going to
In
take
those
issue,
spots,
I
but
mean,
then
yeah,
you
there's a
got
lot of
this-
parcels there.
Then you got
Are they
behind
going to
Turkey
take
Hill,
issue with
that road
turning
that
off
comes out,
of
and you have
Chestnut
more
left on the
more
side?
parking here.
Mhm.
Well,
Yeah, 'cause we live right.
Yeah.
They've been going that way for
Usually
40
people
years.
Yeah,
Now
that's
you
right.
never go the other way.
Some of them probably turn left at the
Yeah,
light, though.
It's gonna be a
That's what
problem.
I'm saying.
My recommendation would be is that's what you gotta put to the neighbors,
Yeah.
is what are you
We all
looking?
need to look at
We can't resolve the site distance issue with the house, it's not gonna happen. Jim was out there, he measured it, traffic officer was out there, it's not gonna resolve them pulling out. That's why I was hoping Jimmy would be here, because it was his mom that brought the neighbors here. If you really want this, here's your options.
So, because
The house is in the site plan.
It's before,
Jim,
you know, the-
Jim lives like in this area here, and usually when he goes on call, he's like.
Well, he's gotta
right
come out
there.
that way, he has to.
Right, now I understand, but now he's got,
You have to go up the other, I mean, it's.
Oh, he's going, now he's on Sixth Street, he's going to Central Station.
Now you're really complicating it.
that. All right, well, I think we all need to look at this one.
This is, that's why.
Neighbor, here's your.
Do you want me to send a letter out to everybody that lives in that street?
I was hoping somebody would do that.
Just
I think that's
to,
the best solution. I mean,
Just
this is a
to
At
problem
this
that
point,
only exists
advise
for
them
them.
we're looking at this.
I've never
if
used
to
it, I've
see,
never driven this.
you know,
they have any
which way-
input,
and that's
contact me
exactly
or show up at the
right.
next committee
It's all
meeting.
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah.
They use it.
It is.
Yeah, it's strictly, I mean, I've never, I couldn't even, I forgot that railroad actually connects.
Most
Yeah.
of these are
Go in there
runners,
and then
like
you gotta
in this
make the
area,
hard right.
Huge
and then a
estimate.
couple of
And then the hard left
Goes
here.
back.
Yeah.
And that's actually the sixth.
The only other small issue that I was thinking of too is
You got-
if
you
you
only
ever
have,
have to come in the other way
Fresh
out
Ale.
on Sixth Street, there's
Yeah.
sometimes a lot of congestion with
There's a
Sixth
little
and
open
Chestnut
buffer.
and the Turkey
Yeah,
Hill.
there's,
and-
that
they got
much
one,
issues next
that's
to
where they both.
Is there, is it at both sides of the congestion?
Yeah.
Yep.
Because I think it's pretty messed
The
up.
distance is the same between Bank Street to the light at Seventh and Bank Street to the light at Sixth. It's the same distance.
All
The
right,
the trains are there. I mean, they've been driving down that one-way street for many, many years.
Yeah.
Do they want to consider a change in that to resolve the site distance issue?
all right.
It's up to them. They brought,
Everybody needs to go and look at this. You got a homework assignment.
Cool.
we were out there, we looked at it.
I know you did
The
your
house is in
homework,
the
now we
way.
gotta follow up, so.
That house was
all right.
probably there before.
So, well, are we sending the letter?
Shane's gonna send
Yeah.
letters to the neighborhood.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's probably a late 1800s.
And Jim's recommendation, just
Because
so
I'm only
we
going
are
with the neighbors.
clear.
Can you send a copy of Brian's email to, or mail
Sure.
to everybody down there?
Sure.
If you wanna send a copy of the officer's suggestion?
What Jim found is, by removing these two vehicles, is not gonna resolve the site distance issue.
It looks a little
It
better.
would be better, but it's not gonna resolve it.
It, to me then, it just means that they park on this side, and then we're gonna hear from the CVS that's doing that. I mean, I'd rather,
Yes.
Dr. Pace is in that
The
first.
doctor's there,
Well, he has a
Still
parking
Waters
lot.
is in the back. Yeah.
Residents are
Dr.
parking.
Pace has three or
One
four
thing I am
cars.
going to do with his letter, just so you're aware, I will cross out the resident's name
Who,
who made the suggestion, so that way if her neighbors
Yeah.
want to try to choke her because
Great.
they're against it.
Wow, they get violent over one way.
Well, who knows? Who knows?
When they change the traffic.
if they weigh in
When
nothing,
they
you
change
know, they
the
may want no
direction,
change, is what I'm looking for.
Right.
That area is the hotbed right now, this month.
All right. Do you have anything else from him?
I have nothing else from him.
Thank God.
It's all the worst.
Mercy.
Page two.
I have no. Everybody wants something.
Item number 7, civil service rules and regulations. No, yeah, well, I didn't print out my copy, and the commission might have a meeting next Thursday to review and then make the recommendations to council. Not that we have any say over the changes that they're going to be making to those rules and regulations. We have no right to do that, so.
Can I just mention something to you I was going to ask you before we went on?
Oh,
This
yeah.
Mr. Harder's kind of done,
Dude.
Yeah,
right?
we do.
He could actually come off of that?
Well,
We do,
wait, wait,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
wait, go ahead.
Aren't we done,
Yeah.
Mr. Harder?
That's all part of the parking inventory. That's all.
Okay.
That's all it's all,
Okay.
that's why it's
Just
still
wanna make
listed
sure it
there, so
wasn't
I
something I'm
remember.
supposed to be doing.
Because we had some discussion about it at Parks and Rec, just in kind of trying to set some guidelines for knowing when the events really
Right.
start, just better communication. So
Okay.
would
All right.
ties into that.
Now,
We do have
Well,
something
we do
to
have
say
some say.
regarding the rules.
You have all the say.
In fact,
I mean, not that I'm suggesting that you go and step on.
I'm not stepping on their toes
I
at
think we-
all.
But I can tell you that Ted Cahoot, you don't have to worry about anything in that commission.
No,
ever again.
everything that we
That
talked
guy is
about,
fantastic.
everything
He's
that
the
we
man,
talked
right?
about with the commission, they've adopted.
Yeah.
They're already in those rules
He
and
was
regulations.
in my office the other day,
But
again, talking about it. Yeah, he's
Sure,
very good.
he's-
You guys made a good appointment.
that's why I don't want to step on their toes.
he's
A
on,
little overqualified, right?
well, but he's on board with what we want to do.
I can
And it's been a struggle to try to convince,
I'm excited that we have
you
him.
know, sometimes layperson's like, whoa, why do you want to do a polygraph? Well, there's a reason.
You don't have to worry about it now.
No, he gets it.
He's taking
I'm
control.
not taking up a fight with him over any of the issues with the commission.
No, he
so.
gets it.
He assured me he is reviewing it thoroughly.
No, I guarantee you he is.
So as soon as they meet,
Very good.
They walk into the meeting, right?
Dave Wakefield is now their new chairperson, and Ted is vice chair, and Vince is the secretary now. So as soon as Dave gets a meeting scheduled, I know he's looking for next Thursday to review the changes that they were suggesting, so we'll take it from there when we get those. But I'm not stepping on their toes, so. All right, tractor trailer ordinance.
Here. I don't think
I
I
didn't.
No, back up.
Back up.
One packet at a time here. Give one of them the packet. Go ahead, take the whole thing and pass it down.
Oh, I see what you're
It's
doing.
3 pages to,
Pass this one down. You can have this one.
We're good.
I'll take this one.
Okay, changes.
Oh,
So,
my.
your back 2 pages are your current Form A ordinance. Your first page and a half is Tom Dick Marker's change suggestions.
Have you reviewed this?
Have I reviewed it? Briefly, yeah. I'll tell you what I reviewed. I agree with his reasoning, to be honest with you. Number one, the recital should reference the borough authority for the ordinance, not a problem, that's just wording. Number two, the second recital appears combined into thoughts and separation may be appropriate, that's not a problem. Number three, add a third recital that non-residents are parking trucks on the streets, that's not a problem. Four, be careful the recitals, if you need to defend the challenge to the ordinance, you need to show the rational basis for the same, not a problem. He's got suggestions to bulk up the ordinance for that. Number five, the vehicle code defines truck, tractor, trailer in combination, and he suggested putting the definitions in the ordinance, which is no big deal. Emailed me the 12 pages of definitions to go through, so.
So our 1-page ordinance is going to turn into a...
I'll take care of that.
You're on fire with ordinance.
Yeah, just closing my door for a couple weeks.
You want
So
to
none of
come
this
home,
is
you
will
want
not
to
be
come home
ready
to my
for
house and
Monday.
work?
By the time I'm done, I'll be writing legislative law. Number six, all he asked is that we separate out what we try to clarify what we're calling commercial vehicles. Number seven, just a change in language to boost that up to say what you're trying to say rather than what you can interpret it as, I guess. Number eight, if they ask what the cost of the signs and all that stuff is, you know what, he suggests putting something right in there that, we'll spend funds as necessary to purchase and install signs, which, to be honest with you, I've never put in it or seen in any ordinance before, but sure, whatever. Number 9, you know, he says that he doesn't dispute the conclusion of closing signs at all entrances to the boroughs appropriate. What he did suggest, though, was that maybe we change the progressive, I would say discipline, that's not what it's finding, I guess, to where the first offense would be around morning.
Oh,
The punishment scale.
Yeah, the punishment.
Oh, gotcha.
And then, you know, he just
But
wants
is
to
that,
Jack, he was out.
is that on the discretion though of the officer though?
Well, no.
no, not if it's listed in your
You
ordinance.
know, if it's
No.
listed in your
Then it's
ordinance.
not discretionary.
No, there's, just like the vehicles code, it defines punishments.
What about 10-year Jackie one?
Yeah, I was gonna say, and then he just wanted to tell me that Jackie was out.
Oh, we gotta put that in there.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, on Monday, you would not be voting, I would not suggest
It'll be
you vote
ready
on
for
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, ready.
Yeah, you're not gonna vote on Monday. So I'll take what he suggested, I'll put the wording in if you want me to, I'll send it back over to him, have him take a good look at it one more time, and then you probably have to advertise it. Well, no, not probably, you will have to advertise it again if you're going to pass it.
Because it's changed.
Because it's changed. And, I mean, you have the right to make minor changes to an ordinance, but I think that
That's
Too many?
the changes are probably
Too
too
many.
significant for you to adopt
Too
on Monday,
much.
so.
Now we're looking at October.
Yeah.
All right.
At some point, you had asked, it might have been your request, I don't know, I can gladly do this. You wanted to make notification to truck owners.
Right.
What that would require, and we're looking at the legality of this, is to run their information. To, you know, obviously, where the trucks are parked, a lot of the people, we know where they live, but not everyone. You would have to find out who the owner-operators are and send them letters giving them some information about what's going on. You still want that done?
Mhm.
And should we do that at one point now? Or should we
Yeah,
wait?
I mean, it's gonna have to be done anyhow, let's not do it last minute, let's do it.
Yeah, we got another, we got another, more time now to,
Yeah, we're pretty for a month.
I know some of the
Yeah.
truck owners know, you know, I've been in to
well, they're out
us.
on Monday
Do
or
you want me to make,
Tuesday they were
It's
here.
about,
do you want me to make the changes and then advertise, or do you want to go back through and do a first reading again?
I'd rather go back through and do a first reading.
Okay, so we'll go back through, I'll make the changes. You'll do a first reading in early October to advertise for, if you get the advertisement in for the end of October. You may not get the advertisement in time. It depends, I mean, if you want me to pay for the morning call ad or the East Penn, which the difference is probably $200. What's that?
East Penn Press.
Yeah, so normally, because East Penn Press has a long deadline, you know, you have to get it in there days in advance. Chances are it probably won't be until your November 5th meeting or whatever.
For second reading?
What's that?
For second reading?
Yeah,
That's fine.
just so you're aware.
But, I mean, the letter is just really out of courtesy. Just
Right, but I'm
say
talking,
we're
yeah,
doing
I'm
it.
just talking about the
I know,
ordinance,
But
so-
from our
I'm talking about days.
standpoint.
the courtesy letters.
It's just a courtesy, it's
What
just-
she
yeah,
had
it's like, hey,
asked
we're
for
working
done,
on
which I
this,
think is
let you
great,
know.
but I didn't want to send out any information until you were pretty resolved in what you were doing.
Now, it is advertised to be voted to be adopted on Monday, so you're going to have to take it off the table.
Changed, yeah.
We're gonna,
No, we have to table it.
Yeah, right, that's what I mean, you're gonna have to,
Oh,
you're
okay.
gonna have to vote the table over.
Okay, that'll work. I think, if we notify the earlier the better. At least that this is in the works.
yeah, I mean,
It won't surprise anybody that only gets from that stuff.
Leanne, I got a question for you. Brent kind of brought this up. You know, we're, in a roundabout way, saying the first offense is $15. not less than 15 days. Do we want to, my thought was to increase each the first offense to $100, second offense to $200, and the other one to $300. You know, keeping the third offense to $300. The reason is that, you know, I'll pay $15 all day, you know, but I think if you put it at $100, it's a little bit stiffer of a.
Well, 15 is the first, second, then third.
Well, your first would now be a
First is gonna
warning.
be a warning.
So your second,
Do you want
The
second
second
to jump
will be
to
your-
100?
Well, then the second will be 200. Well, see that then,
Shane, is this, I'm just looking at that $15 figure, I don't know where that came from.
that came from this committee.
Okay, what I would say is, right now,
You're saying-
a parking ticket in Emmaus is $15. That could conceivably change next year to 20 or 25 at the wish of council. It
That's
used to
what
be
we
10,
based
it
it
used to
on.
be 5. So,
Yeah, 'cause
is
Carl
that what you based it
suggested that we don't
on?
have
On what parking
tickets.
tickets
On
were,
parking
yeah,
ticket,
because
We didn't
it's
have
already
parking.
printed right on the ticket.
it is. If-
Yeah, their whole point was that you would basically give them a parking ticket. That's why it says
First.
not less than
Right.
$15.
My question, I guess, then is if the parking ticket fee changes next year.
Well, you'd still be able to change it because it's not less than 50.
Okay, that's,
That's why the wording was put in there the way that it was.
We talked about that when you
Right.
were away and Carl was here in
Right.
the place.
okay. That's what, I thought that's probably where you came up with
Yeah,
that
because on
number.
the actual ticket, it has an ordinance and a blank that they could fill in the ordinance number.
It does, right.
But under
That's what we
the
were
suggested
referring to.
changes from Tom, it'd be for the first offense,
be
it'd
written.
be a written warning. So I guess the question would be, how do you want me to rate the second
Second
offense?
offense.
And I would compromise and go 150 for the second offense, nothing less than 150.
Okay, originally you had it at 50 for the second.
I understand that.
So you want it to be 150%.
Yeah, and then the third would be $300 for a maximum fine of $300.
And right now, your third is $75.
$75
For- that's a
Oh, and
minimum.
up to.
Yeah, it's up to a maximum of 3.
But we had also talked about, I can't remember what I said. Adding language for each additional offense thereafter, it would be $300.
And the whole reason was you could sit there and pay all day.
Well, I think Brent's question was, I think you just got to define subsequent offenses are typically, if it's the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh time, a subsequent offense is this amount. So I think that's where the confusion was. What happens if the person violated it 3 times? What happens on the 4th time? It's a third and/or supplement, or subsequent offense.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so you want to increase second offense to $150.
Second, this is what I'll propose, and we'll go for discussion on that. 150 for the second offense, $300 for the third, and up to $500 for.
Can't be up to $500.
Why is that?
$300 is.
$300 is your limit due to the vehicles code.
Okay, thank you.
So,
What do you think, Wes?
That's too high. I mean, I think the message goes, I mean, $75, they're definitely a parking spot somewhere if they went to a lot, I mean, it would have to be less than $75, I think. Right?
Are they monthly rental? I mean, if
You
they're-
can ticket them every day.
No, I understand. that.
conceivably.
Yeah, you don't want
Would
to
we?
jerks
No.
about it.
No.
But I'm,
Well, I mean, $150.
I'm like, yeah, right. You know, you don't want to, you would hope that, you know, the written warning, you know, the person would get the idea and just, you know.
Yeah.
I think
But-
most truck drivers are not wealthy, so I think the first offense of $50 is probably enough for them to start looking somewhere else.
I'm fine with what we have.
I mean, that's my thought anyway.
I'm fine with
It's up
an
to you guys.
increase, but I think that's too severe.
Okay.
I mean, just for what it is, it's really to send a message, it's not.
Because you can rent, I mean, at $15, you know,
All right,
yeah, if you
so-
ticket them every day, yeah, obviously you get your, but, you know, people usually rent a spot at a lot for
Yeah.
a month for $35 to $50 a month or something like that. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
usually
no.
that's what, you know.
Well, and there's reckoning periods too. A person has so many days to respond to a parking ticket, so you're not going to ticket the vehicle every day. It's not even conceivable, nor is it fair.
Right,
you
it's
know.
not fair, absolutely.
So,
Yeah, the only reason I bring it up is just that I thought it was just too minimal. And it's
15.
Like, I'll do it again for maybe
Written
about.
warning, and you get the first.
so, so I have this right. The sequence is a written warning.
The first offense.
You just want to cut out the $15 then? Just cut that part out. The first offense would not be a written warning.
And then second offense.
Is what I know?
It right now reads
Not less than
50.
$50 for the second offense.
That's fine.
And then not less than 75 for the third offense.
And if you wanted to increase it to 100,
Which one? First offense or
I'll
second?
do that.
Second
Second.
offense.
Well, the third.
The
Third offense,
offense.
increase that to 100 instead of 75.
If you're okay with that.
I got this right. Written warning,
Yeah.
$50,
Second.
$100.
Mhm.
Third one.
Subsequent offenses are 300.
Yeah,
Up to-
I need to add at the end of that sentence, upon conviction of any offense thereafter.
Third and/or subsequent offenses is generally what they do.
Mhm.
Final punishment is you have to sit through a public safety meeting.
Yeah. Offense, you're on the public safety committee.
You're sitting there.
That's awful. That's almost so bad.
Written warning.
You know what, that would be enough for me, let me tell you, that's enough for me.
I
I should find a
I'll
parking
move.
else,
I'll
I'll
move
park
my-
on my
I'll
roof
move
if I
my-
have
I'll move my
to.
vehicle.
Sitting through this is brutal. All right.
So we've
What
got
do
a
they say
written
about
warning,
flat spots?
$50, $100, $300.
Yep,
So I have my ducks in a row.
your ducks are bucks in a row.
Ducks.
All right. I don't think I have anything.
I need an executive.
Yeah, I know you do. All right, let's go around the table. Do you have anything further from the police department?
No, progress, that's enough.
Nothing?
That's enough.
Jeff, public works.
I just have one thing, I'm not quite sure how, I don't remember how we've handled it. Brian, we were talking about something else, and he sent me an email that a woman, a teacher at his school, inquired about directional signs for her church in town. She lives at St. Margaret's at Keystone and Elm. Her church is at St. Margaret's at
Margaret's.
Keystone and Elm. And they would like to direct people from either Harrison or Chestnut to the facility. I don't remember
We did
what
that
we've
once
done.
before for St. John.
Oh, the churches have, we used to have signs that said
Was
St.
it
John.
What was the last thing? Do we let them put it up and pay for it, or how did we do that last time? I told them I couldn't remember what your process was.
Second hand.
I know some churches have
If
done
they
it. on
purchase
their own.
them.
Yeah, they purchase them and you allow.
And then we
them to put
Because
them
direct
then we
them
just
on
put
where
them
they are
up
allowed to
where
put
they
them
go.
up.
Yeah, I think that's how we did it
This big
before.
one and a bigger one.
Yeah, we wouldn't allow the bigger one.
So I guess, do we first need to find out what their sign's gonna be, or is it
Yeah.
something where we can just work it out without coming back to the committee? Or what do you want to do?
We'll find out the size,
All right.
and I think that's something staff can handle, it's
All
sort
right.
of informational, so
Okay,
we
that's
need
all I
to
have.
waste 20 minutes discussing that. Mike, do you have anything else?
Progress.
All right, and you need executive session for a personnel matter.
Well, with us. Right.
Yeah.
Semi-executive.
I got nothing further. Do you guys have anything?
No.
5K, do you need anything?
No, we're good.
Yeah,
Same,
yeah, same- everything's identical.
Same guidelines?
T-shirts, t-shirts.
I never know. No.
Oh,
Sometimes we
Change
have.
your mind.
Yeah, I got it.
I run it, but I
I was
gotta work.
confused because I
no,
came
no.
back and all the trucks are out. I'm going, oh.
Did you find a bear?
Well, I just
did you
realized,
have
you know,
any
if
numbers
it
yet?
was done with the
Your
machine,
daughter
we
and
probably
friend?
should just go ahead and bag it
Yeah,
out.
it
I
was-
wasn't realizing there was any on the ramp, I thought it was inside, I
I'm not
thought.
carrying it again this
No,
year.
same stuff.
And then I
All right.
guess all they rolled
Numbers
there.
not there.
We need to go into an executive session, gentlemen.